Welcome to episode 324 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have Guy Serle back on the show. How you doing, Guy?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on, Dave. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always enjoy having you on the show. We got lots to talk about. Also here is Marty Jencius. How you doing, Marty?
Second best day of the week is Thursday when I get to be on In Touch with iOS.
What's
you got
first?
great folks like Guy being Guy and Jeff being Jeff and Dave organizing this whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm always glad you're here. And Jeff Gamet is here as well. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And I don't typically rate my days as first best of the week, second best of the week, because I love them all equally.
Yes. This is true. So we have plenty to talk about this week. There's beta has continued. We have iOS 18 has been released in the wild as to everybody. We always have our Vision Pro this week topic, as well as some news and maybe some tips with iOS 18. And we're going to be giving plenty of those over the next few weeks because there's just so many to talk about. But I might share a couple of my top ones here. But as we always do, let's start off with beta. This week, iOS 18.1 Beta 4 was released. Actually, it was released within the last day or two since we started recording this. And as the developer beta comes out, and this also includes macOS Tall Trees, as Jeff calls it, or Sequoia, 15.1. Apple has provided that next fourth beta for 18.1, and that, of course, includes Apple Intelligence. That's what everybody's been waiting for. Everybody was kind of disappointed that it wasn't released out upon release this past week, but they did split the betas up between the 18.0 because Apple Intelligence wasn't quite ready yet. So, Marty, how has it been working on your iPhone with 18?
I'm starting to see more action coming up in Apple Intelligence. I'm running the beta.
Yep.
The developer beta. So I'm, like today it opened and gave me a summary of a message that I had, which was about as long as the message. So it really wasn't a summary.
It was a paraphrase.
I'm waiting for those long emails where that is more of an effect, but it did it. It surprised me. It showed up and is starting to work.
Excellent. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit yet. I'm anticipating they're probably saying I think around October is when they're ready to release it. So we're going to probably see a few more betas on that, and it's a good sign because they also released iOS 18.1 beta 1 for the public beta. So now the public can now download it and try it and do all kinds of fun stuff. And it is. So now you got to be careful. Of course, like we always say, don't put beta on your production iPhone. Please don't do it. Don't do it. But the public now can get to it if you don't want to have a developer version or have a developer account. It's not that hard to get it. But so again, it's gonna allow you as a non-developer to test the software and see how it works. And like you said, with the writing tools that are going to be available, the text is going to help you with the selected text can be edited. Features for spell checking, correcting your grammar, rewriting your work, with a new tone, summarizing. And then the S ladies are going to be a bit overhauled and seeing where, including that subtle glow around the display when you type to Siri, meaning that you don't have to speak to her to get answers. Have you tried that, Marty?
Yeah, and in reaction to the S lady, she's still your dumber cousin. Nothing has improved in it yet, and probably won't see anything for another 6 months.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of time yet before we're ready to keep going, and hopefully that will be there when it comes to Apple Intelligence because people are waiting for it. So some of the other betas out there, tvOS is going to have is 18.1 beta 1 just came out. That's for developers that hadn't been out before. So if you want to check it out, again, I don't know if there's going to be much. There really isn't any details yet as far as if there is, if Apple TV is getting Apple Intelligence features or not. But it would be kind of a great place for it.
I think Insight would be considered a feature.
Yeah, that's right. Which I think is already released in 18.0, which is out.
Yeah.
But yes, that's probably one of the things that was a big improvement. As well as Watch OS 11.1 is now out in beta as well. Again, they don't really give much as far as what has been added as far as the beta 1. Are they going to add more Apple Intelligence to the Apple Watch? You might see some there as well, I would think. I don't know if you're running this on your watch yet, Marty.
Yep, I am, but I don't notice any. Whenever I see a beta come up, I go ahead and advance it. And it seemed like I was doing double duty this week, running from one beta to the developer beta. And it's sort of like, wait a minute, didn't I just download this yesterday? But I think I'm all caught up. And I'm not seeing any foreseeable differences. They talk about, well, that's going to be on the Watch Series 10, a more responsive screen. So, but that's not necessarily tied to the software. So,
yeah. So let's go ahead and move on. We'll go right to Vision Pro for this week. I've been using my Vision Pro here I guess I'm getting close to 2 weeks. I got to look up when I bought it. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Definitely want to start comparing notes with Marty and with Eric from the Vision Pro files, and talk about it's more at length. But they did release a Vision OS 2, and that's out in the wild for everybody to use. And it did launch right alongside the Vision Pro back in February as a beta. All the headsets are going to be being able to navigate to the settings app to do an update. It seems like the updates go pretty easy, wouldn't you say, Marty?
Yeah, this was a large update. It was like 6 or 8, 3 gigabytes.
I think it was 3 gigabytes. Yeah, it was huge.
3 gigabytes. Okay, it went. Switching over to the developer beta version, it just seemed a little longer in the process of doing that. But most folks are reporting it's much more snappier.
Oh yeah, I know
internal reaction, and they're still griping about the fact that they haven't gotten the killer app. The large screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For your Mac. But there are some cool things, and really would like to get the guest user mode it's a little more robust than it was with this version, because you can save your most recent guest's eyes and hand data up to 30 days, so they can skip the setup if they want to go back and use it again. That's handy, definitely, if it's like your spouse or if you have a friend that you're always having to try it. So they have a new beach environment. I didn't see that. I didn't check that one out yet. Did the Bora Bora?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Bora Bora's been in the beta for a while.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did check it. Yeah. So,
yeah.
You are able to use the Vision Pro as an AirPlay receiver to mirror content from any nearby iPhone or iPad, as well as Apple TV. I did that. I thought that was really cool. I'm showing it to my wife, and I go, "Hey, look, it's on the TV. You can see what I see."
Now, have you set up a guest mode for your wife yet?
Yeah,
or are you just teasing her and saying, "Look, no,
she tried it. She tried it." But getting in there, we all have to talk about this in probably another time. Okay. Control center. God, I can't get in the damn control center. It is. I'm squeezing my hand. I'm doing everything, and we'll talk about it. It's challenging. So, as well as on the other killer features that are going to be coming later this year, they did say that the Mac Virtual Display, we want it to be it will be available in 3 sizes: normal, wide, and ultra wide. And the ultra wide virtual display would be equivalent to 2 physical 4K displays sitting side by side on a desk. Now we're waiting for that, I think, coming soon, right, Marty?
Yeah, if you follow the chats on this one, everybody wants it tomorrow,
of course.
And then when it doesn't happen, everybody says it's a fail. But that's people's emotions wrapped around it.
Yeah,
it'll get there when it gets there.
And then the beta version of Vision OS 2.1 just got released, and you can download that. I haven't seen much in the data with this as of yet. I don't know if you jumped on this and tried it yet.
Yeah, but I haven't seen much on it either, other than keeping up with the betas.
Yeah,
which is a show title right there.
You are right. I got that right out. Keep it up with the betas. So One thing I wanted to bring up is I listened to a radio show earlier tonight, and they're talking about technology, and I think there's this new headset that's going to be coming out. These glasses for Snapchat. I didn't hear much. I didn't get too much detail of that, but then they brought up the Vision Pro, and they're pretty much saying that the Vision Pro. Oh yeah, the Vision Pro it's a big flop, and I don't know if I would agree with that. Is that true or not? I don't know. I mean, it's been out, 6 months? So it really hasn't.
It's also been out in more or less a limited release. It's not like it's been
you gotta give it time.
available outside of the United States. And you're talking about a device that costs $3,500.
That's the big, and that's the first thing there. Yeah, you're saying, I mean, you initial sales haven't really met the astronomical expectations that Apple really expected. But
are you sure?
Or maybe they have.
And maybe they have. We don't know.
No, I don't. Their expectations were in sales.
I think that Vision Pro hasn't met the unrealistic astronomical expectations of pundits.
Exactly. And that's probably who I was listening to, or a journalist that covers technology.
Also doesn't know how many they've actually sold.
Exactly. So I question that. I mean, again, limited availability. It still had only been available in the U.S., but I know they started expanding it into other countries. Or have they? There's a couple of countries now.
It's if Vision Pro was a total flop, I don't think Apple would have rolled it out into other countries. They would have just cut the losses and moved on.
Yeah.
It's still, like you said, it's only been months since Vision Pro was released.
Right.
It is way too early to consider it a flop. I mean, it's not a Microsoft kin.
No.
What could be,
or
right?
or the Zune for that matter,
or the Zune. I mean, Zune outlived the kin, and Zune wasn't a great product.
Yeah. So, how about you, Marty? What do you think?
Tell you, the kin was a great product, but I don't know anyone who actually had one.
Good, Marty.
Ever?
Yeah.
I think I had a Zune at one time. I can't remember.
You probably did.
Electroshock therapy probably solved that problem and wiped it out of my head. We're starting to see also RANs in terms of headset devices coming out. There's one that was a device coming in Chinese from a Chinese company, and it was tempting. I almost pushed the button on it, but then I thought, for the love of science, I should probably get one. But then I realized, what am I going to do if the thing breaks? It looks like a good device. There's one that I just put in our chat that we'll probably talk about on Vision Profiles on Monday. $1,000 device, Vive Elite XR. What I find interesting in the ad is they use spatial computing. So they're starting to take that term and apply it to a lot of, just like we did with AI, apply it to a lot of different settings. The thing looks impressive, but when you look at the videos of it, it's like wearing a tank on your eyes. It's huge.
Oh, and you have to use the hand wands like with so many other headsets.
Yeah, the gamers really like those, though. The gamers are like, that's going to add sensitivity, and it's what I came here for to play with. So I don't think that's a deterrent. It actually adds some accuracy to it. But we're starting. This might be the one that you saw, Dave. I don't know, but we're starting to see these ads pop up of different types. This is a PC only device, and I think it's tethered too.
Oh, jeez.
For $1,000.
For $1,000. Yeah. Okay. So say no more. I put it in the show notes what you shared with that, but there's an alternative device, but I don't think it's very alternative. That doesn't seem.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the picture of it now.
So
it's positively frightening.
I don't know. I just kind of got a little disheartening. Why would you say that? I mean, my God, it's been 6 months since the Vision Pro came out. I mean, this journalist, I'm not going to name who it is, that, he or she appeals to the consumer, the person who's can you help me fix my printer type of audience. And, it's not for everybody. I don't think your normal person like that is going to buy a $3,500 Vision Pro. I mean, I think it's something that the Vision Pro is yes, it can be a little bit of a niche item, but I think it's something that can be attractive to folks who are wanting to explore, the new world of VR, and it's really, I got a little disheartened at first when he said it, and I was like, am I really liking this Vision Pro? And then I said, no, hit myself. No, of course I like this thing. I just bought it. So I just thought it was interesting to talk about that, to see what you guys thought with it, and I was right. I think it's something we just got to give it some time. Again, even the developers, there's still so much work out there yet to get with apps. Because I'm noticing there's not a ton of apps out there. I mean, notably missing is YouTube, and having to watch YouTube through the browser is not exactly fun. But you can, and and there's many other folks looking at developing apps that's going to utilize some of the VR features that the Vision Pro has. But again, 6 months. People, they what they get, they got a year to develop on it. But that still wasn't enough time because it was very beta. It was like a very, very first gen device at the time.
There's a guy whose first name is Cosmos, and right now I forget his second name, but he organized what was called a hackathon for Vision Pro, and the idea was getting groups of teams together to create a app. And so those kinds of initiatives where people can get excited around it. And, I followed some of it, and some of the preliminary kinds of apps that are coming out are real creative because, they're doing it in a team and they're making it happen, and they're acting on it in a short period of time. So I'm optimistic about creative things coming out.
Yeah, I think so too. So
and the hardware, really, when you look at the hardware, it's almost beta hardware, especially at that price point. I think the next one that comes out, even if it has some reduced features, will be the one that Apple is really intending for people to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. But I think this is going to be a device that is going to continue on because, again, I would hope, there's been products in the past that Apple's released aren't as expensive as this. I would hope Apple stays invested in this, product, only because, people put out a good chunk of money to have a Vision Pro, and will it continue to evolve on this product, or do they come out with a Vision Pro 3 or whatever it is, which they probably will eventually. But I think they really got to focus on this device to get this current model, working the way it should.
They're still in the phase that they were in with Vision Pro. Wait, let me start the sentence over again because I was going to totally Yoda that sentence. Vision Pro today is in the same space that the original Macintosh was in,
right,
at the same point in its release cycle. And it took a while for the Macintosh to really get that momentum going, especially considering it was a brand new platform and Apple already had another very popular platform that was out and in the wild with the Apple II product line. So so where they are today with Vision Pro, I think is right on track. And I expect we will see more improvements and wider developer adoption and then user adoption as the product continues to evolve.
Absolutely.
I would compare it more with the original iPhone than the Mac.
And that's a fair comparison too.
It is. I did not buy the first iPhone, so I'll say that.
I mean, when you look at the iPhone hardware, the very first one that I think really took off was the 3GS.
3GS, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of iPhone, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, did we have copy and paste on that one?
No. Oh, 3GS? I think it came...
No,
it was the 4. I had to wait till the 4 for copy and paste.
Yeah. Basic core functionality.
Yeah.
Did it have
not there?
You had the 3, the 3GS, no, you had the 3G, the 3GS, and then the 4. Yeah. So,
and it had a calculator.
And it did have a calculator. Yes.
Okay.
And I guess, again, I almost had that smooth end transition there. Speaking of iPhone 16 Pro is going to be released tomorrow as we record this on September 20th. I am anxiously going to be waiting to go to the Apple Store tomorrow to pick mine up. I can't wait to grab that and be able to check it out right off the bat, not have to wait to get here at 5, 6 o'clock at night because I'm anxious. I want it, and then I have to sit here and wait and make sure I'm here. So when the UPS driver shows up, I've done that before, and then I wasn't home, and then I had to go to the UPS depot and wait there for an hour just to get it because everybody else was waiting for their iPhone. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I mentioned I got the iPhone 16 Pro Max in the black titanium with 512 gigs of RAM. Which one did you get, Marty?
I got the exact same model and storage that you have.
Yeah.
I'm doing the in-store too, just because I realize waiting, it's just easier for me to drive the 40 minutes over until my car broke yesterday.
No.
And so it led a series of lies to my wife that I really needed the car for work tomorrow.
Hope she's not listening.
Probably in the next bedroom.
Never listen to any podcast that we're on.
This is true.
Guaranteed.
And
so I'll be using her car to go pick it up.
And Jeff, you're going to go to the store to take a look before you decide, right?
Yep. And the Boulder store is just a few minutes away from me. So I expect I will be in an Apple store tomorrow playing with a new iPhone.
All right. And then Guy, are you going to do it?
Yeah.
You ordered?
It's coming tomorrow, 16 Pro.
Nice.
Wow.
Which one did you get?
I was going to get the regular 16 in teal, but I'm coming off of an iPhone 13, so it's it's like just spend the extra money,
Attaboy.
Get the Pro. So I did. And it's in black, 256 of storage, and I got a teal case. So
there you go. I bought my Spygen. Actually, I think it's still sitting in my door. I didn't grab it, but my Amazon packages today. I pre-purchased a case, so I know I have one ready to go when mine's sitting downstairs still.
I got a case too, and noticed that it's about a case thickness longer than the 15 Pro Max. So there's not a lot of larger size. Everybody talks about it's going to be too big. It's going to be too big.
Right.
But not so much.
Okay. So let's go on and talk about iOS 18. There's a lot to talk about there for this week. So first off, I want to mention that iOS 17.7 and iPadOS 17.7 is released. This is a bug fixed, and you will have the option to be able to wait. You don't have to install iOS 18 right off the bat. Apple is setting it up as optional for now. That's what they say. But it's important to run those updates on both those devices if you're going to stay on iOS 17, because 17.7 does have some bug fixes that fixes that. I believe it's also on Sonoma went to 14.7. That just came out, as well as I believe Ventura's got an update, and I believe Monterey does too, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure you get those updates because it's important. There's some bug fixes in there for sure. And this article is interesting. It's our friend Adam Angst. As far as let's talk a little bit about when you should upgrade to your Apple devices in 2024. He breaks the categories down to early adopters, enthusiastic users, or cautious users, as well as reluctant upgraders. I like the way this is broken down. I'm not going to go through. You could check the article out here as far as that goes. And then there's reluctant upgraders. Even those with no interest in new features should upgrade eventually, but they usually hold back, right? I don't know where we fall on this category. I think Marty and I for sure are early adopters. I would think.
We're installing stuff when it's still beta. We are early adopters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, because we're doing beta stuff too, right?
Yeah, I did beta 18 on my iPhone 13.
Yep. So you have to just decide yourself. Our friend Chuck Joyner likes to wait on a lot of his production machines, especially on his Mac, for obvious reasons. I haven't upgraded my production machine just yet. I'm still on Sonoma 14.7. So you really just have to think about it. A lot of folks like to wait a day or two while iOS 18 comes out. A good example, I think I'll mention it, is it bricked some iPad Pro M4 iPads that they had to pull it. So far mine still, I installed it right away, so like I always do. And so far it's running okay. But there's a good example of, be a little cautious. You don't have to upgrade right off the bat if you don't want to, but like Jeff said, we all fall under as early adopters. So it's
we rush in where angels fear to tread.
We do. Other than don't putting it on your production device during the beta cycle. Well, Marty does.
Yeah. And I'm an early adopter married to a reluctant upgrader.
There you go.
So that we just decided not to talk about it. She doesn't ask me why I have to do that. I don't push her to try and do it. So keeps peace in the household.
It does. So first off, I'm going to talk about is which iPhones are compatible to iOS 18. It starts from the 10R, which is pretty impressive because that's a 6-year-old iPhone. So, you got the 10R, the 10S, and then you go from the 11 all the way up. So they're all compatible. If they do some of the features, obviously none of those will work with Apple Intelligence except for the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 16. So you got some open. If you have a little bit of an older phone, iPhone, that's great. So you don't have to worry too much when it comes to upgrading. I don't think it'll be as bad as in the past because a lot of times when we would put a newer OS on an older iPhone, it would tend to be a little slower. But I think Apple has done a good job of optimizing it enough that they wouldn't allow it if they found they didn't do some testing to make sure that it works okay on these older models. Wouldn't you think, guys?
Well, also, I mean, what processor intensive things that are new are in iOS 16 or iOS 18 as compared to 17 that everybody else is using?
Yeah. Anybody else?
Apple Intelligence, and they're limiting that to the last generation in this one.
There's some photo and video features that are processor intensive, and those will work with older iPhones. But yeah, the hardcore processor intensive stuff uses the new, I'll call it the AI chip that Apple started with the 15.
Yeah. All right. So I have a top 5 list. I put a top 5 list here of I'm excited about some of the features that Apple has released. I'm going to go, excuse me. I'm going to go through that, and then we'll circle back on any of the other features here. So my top feature that I'm really loving, and I haven't had a ton of time to spend on it yet, is the Control Center. The Control Center now, for years, we were always limited to what the Control Center could have, and you had to go into the settings and under Control Center, and you tap the minus or you tap the plus, and those are the only things you could put in, and that was it. Well, now you actually can go in and customize controls. You can make them larger or smaller. You can make multiple pages of these. It's home screen style grid of the Control Center. So now this is a one-stop shop. We know how to go to the Control Center. You drag down to the top right, bring it down. And that gives you a great options to be able to have pages upon pages of different control buttons that you want. And they can be put in together. You can move them around. You can make them bigger. You can make them smaller. I find it fascinating, as well as being able to going in and being able to delete the controls right from just tap. It wiggles and tap the minus and it deletes. You couldn't do that before. It was very locked down, within settings. Mm-hmm. So you can have single button controls like the dark mode for the flashlight, timers, low power mode. You can have voice memos as a quick place in the Control Center, and then resizing. And then there's a gallery. So you actually can go to a Control Center's gallery, and now it lets you organize it, and it can be accessed into the interface. You just long press on it, and then it goes into using the plus button to edit mode, and then you just add a control. And again, I said multiple screens. You can go through, and I want to start looking at this. This is kind of fascinating too. Is just seeing how you can swipe between multiple screens within the Control Center without having to do it from home pages or home screens that we've had in the past. So something different this time. I think it's a great place. And you also can put the power button right at the top of the Control Center. What a concept there. So if you want to do the power, instead of what do we have to do before? Volume up, volume down, hold the power button down, hold the side button down, and then the power comes up. Well, now you can actually put it right into the control center. And I mean, it's long time to do this. It's amazing. And then third-party apps are now going to be able to take advantage of this too. You've never been able to do that before. So, as well as you got to be careful. Yeah, third-party apps, you know, where you want to put them in here. But this is a pleasantly surprising to see all the things that you can add in here. It just goes on and on how much stuff you can add here and how to customize the control center. And this is going to be endless customizations. And I think this is something that long overdue. Have any of you guys tried this yet? No, we've only had, most of us who have not doing beta, we've only had iOS 18 since Monday as this week. So
I've been playing with it a little bit. And and the first thing I noticed was that I'll call it the wireless connectivity widget thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It already had a bunch of new stuff in it. And the power widget, that's just been there by default in the upper right-hand corner for me.
Okay.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the audio widgets that run down the side that are just there by default.
Yep.
And so I ended up with multiple widget pages by default. And looking through it, it's like the extra pages, one was for music, one was for HomeKit, and anyhow, so there's a bunch of cool stuff in here. Oh wait, there's another one in here that I hadn't even noticed yet. Oh, I'm stupid. I just realized those little icons down the side that I thought were controls. No, it's showing me what the other pages are that are automatically there. I didn't even realize till just now.
Yep. So, anybody else have any add to the control center? I don't want to spend a ton of time on all this because we'll be here. We could be here 2 hours talking about each add all these up here.
Yeah, it's a muscle memory thing for me. I have to get used to using control center, and I just, while you were talking about it, I think maybe I need to switch my action button over to activating the control center.
Yeah.
Because getting my finger up and pulling it down sometimes takes a couple of swipes. I'll forget that it's there. So having it tied to the action button would make me use it more. But there's some really cool stuff in it.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff.
For sure. The other thing I'm happy about now, and I'll, especially if you have friends that are using Android, is the RCS support is now brought to this. But there is a number of other things that was added into messages in here as well, including the send later option, being able to send a message later, and you could schedule it if you don't want to send it right away. Especially, I think this will definitely come in handy when you want to send something. You know, you're thinking about something at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't really want to send that text that late at night. Most people probably they're in focus mode where they're don't bother me, don't disturb. But this is nice to have that option. You can send it later if you want. And lots of things with the tap back reactions, you know, with the stickers jumping at you and the words jumping at you and the emoji support that will jump at you, and you can do this. But the biggest thing I really think is what stands out to me is the RCS support. Now, RCS, which stands for Rich Communication Services, is a texting protocol that replaced SMS and MMS. And you'll see it when texting people who don't have iMessage, that's such as Android users. When it has nothing to do with iMessage conversations, but the conversations, we know the dreaded green bubble versus blue bubble. Well, I think we're going to have to kind of get over that now, because what's pretty amazing now is the fact that you are going to be able to now, do thumbs up and do an emoji. They're going to see videos. The Android person is going to see everything that we see in iMessage. And that's what RCS is going to do. It's going to be all it'll have higher resolution photos. It'll support larger files for file sharing, audio messages, and real-time typing indicators. Yeah, Android, when someone was responding back to you on Android, we're used to seeing the ... as they're typing. Well, you can see that now from an iPhone user on an Android, and vice versa. So you got those improvements too. So can I
add a caveat to that?
Yeah, please.
Because
please.
I think a lot of people won't understand why they're not seeing the those new features. It's only on the major carriers and MVNOs like Mint Mobile that I'm using.
Mhm.
They have to implement that as well. And it takes time to get all the software updated and working the way it needs to. So you have all of the new support. And
So we're not the MVNOs. A lot of them are not going to have it right now.
correct. And you can look on your phone and see if you have the feature. So let's see. Settings, general. Maybe it's under about. Yes. About. Scroll down to the bottom. And it's great because there's no way you would know to look here, except that I'm telling you right now. So scroll down to the bottom of about, and where it says carrier, tap on that until you see IMS status. And like on mine, it says voice and SMS. And that's because I'm on Mint. And they've already said, yes, we're working on getting this rolled out as quick as we can. But they haven't given a time frame yet. But there you go. That's where you look to see if you've got the new text message features.
Okay.
You know, I saw an article today written, and the title was "New iMessage Still Gets It Wrong."
Yeah.
And of course, I got to find out what they got wrong. This was someone talking about RCS and complaining that they still have green bubbles.
Oh my God.
Give it up. Oh my Lord.
Pal, if it bothers you that much, get a skin for your messaging app or just go buy an iPhone.
Phone, yeah.
Yeah. It just crazy. I want to talk a little bit about the home screen updates. You are able to do a lot of nifty things on the home screen and the lock screens. The big thing is rearranging icons, and you can put them pretty much anywhere on each home screen. And they can be split up, and you don't have to have a full page, and you can have just certain icons, and they can be in the middle of the page, up at the top, wherever you'd like. So they really made it enhance of that. You can increase the icon font size, which is amazing. So for the
advantage of that,
yeah, people, we're us old timers here, wherever our eyesight is going, this is definitely going to be a big bonus for that, and just putting it as default as opposed to having to go into accessibility to do it, I think is quite a game changer there. And then the changing of the widget size, you can actually go directly to the home screen without having to go into the customization options. The widgets now have a white rounded bar in the corner. That's the new thing because it does that at Apple Vision Pro with the Windows 2 when you drag them. So the same thing here with the widgets, that same concept, being able to do that. And they've added some new widgets. The dark mode icons are interesting. I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of that, but some people like that. And we know Android's probably had this feature for a while, but I think this is kind of a game changer for iPhone. I think Apple took their time to make sure that they got it right. So maybe this is right. I don't know. But again, I'm not a huge of the dark mode. Dark mode's okay. I've got some things in dark mode. But the icon tints, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that. Have you guys play with that at all? So you can have it a yellow or purple or blue or
I've played with it because, of course, I have. I wanted to see what it would do. And I get where for some people this is going to be super cool and they'll absolutely love it. And when I was playing with it, what stood out to me was that if I was doing stuff at night outdoors, like stargazing, where when I minimize the the light exposure for my eyes, I would use like a red tint or a green tint, yellow, whatever. I'd pick a tint and use that on my iPhone. But what I have seen is that there's a lot of widgets that need to be updated to take advantage of that. Yeah. Because their interface just straight up breaks right now if you're using a tint.
Yeah, so
I'm colorblind, or I think the term that's used, which is really politically incorrect, color dumb, which means I'm not totally colorblind, but so tinting icons to different colors doesn't help me easily identify what I'm looking for.
Mm.
You know, I've got to stick with what's there in order to be able to find the stuff that I want to find. So I've seen some posts on Reddit where it's like, throw up your home screen now that it's, you know, give me some inspiration. And there's some pretty cool stuff people are doing with home screens. But me, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. I'm not, probably won't mess with it too much. I might try it out just to take a look at it. But no, I agree that tinting is just, it's not, but these young whippersnappers like to have those fun colors, right?
Keep in mind, Apple's audience is much, much larger than us.
That is true.
And things that people in our echo chamber are likely to complain about, like, oh, well, I don't need to have tinting because that's not my thing. Or in messages, I don't like the look of the new like and heart and exclamation point reactions that you can add to messages. Mm-hmm. We can go down the line with things that people think are frivolous or too cute or whatever. And those features aren't for us. That's for everyone else. And that's okay.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm just going to go through a couple more things. The hide and locking apps is amazing. Being able to actually go in and hide an app. And then you also, what you can do is you can lock the app. Like here's a good example, your banking app. If someone grabs your phone, you have an extra layer of security on that app because it requires the Face ID or a Touch ID to authenticate it beyond it. The hidden apps, you just don't show up anywhere unless you go into the app library.
Can I interrupt for just a second? Does that also work with folders or just apps?
It's just apps, from my understanding. Yeah. So, but this is amazing.
To find out. I'm going to try and lock a whole folder.
All right, give it a shot. Then the lock screen updates. You could do rainbow time and other new lock screen widget options. You can add quick buttons. You can change the quick buttons at the bottom, because if you remember in iOS 17, you always at the quick button at the bottom is always the flashlight and the camera. Well, you won't need the camera much longer because on the 16 you're going to have the camera control button, but you still can have it there. But now you can customize the quick buttons at the very bottom of the home on the lock screen. Another amazing thing, and of course they added some more wallpapers and such, but really some good fun things they've done as far as, again, I added this as one of my top 5 features for iOS 18. I think this is pretty amazing. The other one I wanted to talk, there's 2 more I wanted to talk about is the iOS 18 passwords app. It is installed by default, and when you automatically upgrade to iOS 18, it's a simple layout with a search bar at the top, so you can look at the information what you're looking for, compared to keychain, the password keychain we had in the past, the iCloud keychain, excuse me. And it's well put together. It's got a lot of great interfaces and logins and changing passwords, deleting passwords, authentication codes. The passkeys is integrated nicely with it. Password sharing, very easy to do. Autofilling. There's so much that they've added to this. It's a really enhanced way of managing your passwords. Now, one thing I will say is I think most of us here are big 1Password users, and I don't think this says Sherlock 1Password one bit. I think 1Password has a lot more powerful features. And even the more bummer thing is you can't even export passwords that you have from 1Password into the iOS Passwords app, which I think's a little crazy, but I think they're working on it if they hadn't already. So just be aware of that too. So, but yeah, another one of my favorite apps, I think, is, the way I work with passwords apps, I use both. I like to have that as a backup. So I had the iCloud keychain before, but now with the passwords app, this is even more of a way of having 2 places that I can keep and maintain passwords securely and encrypted and protected. You guys want anything to add on that?
I like the app. I like the passwords app. I have 1Password, but I find myself using the passwords app more now than 1Password.
Yeah, I've got 1Password on my phone, but I don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am so heavily invested in 1Password and the way I use it that the idea of switching to the passwords app is not appealing to me. But that tells me I'm not the target audience for that app because I'm doing things that go beyond what it's capable of. That said, I'm so glad this is a thing because I know so many people that don't have good password management at all.
Yep.
And this is going to fix that for them because just the whole keychain thing before this, it was too nebulous. People couldn't understand that their passwords really were being saved and where were they and how do I see what I have? And now with the passwords app, I think they'll be able to actually start wrapping their head around that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So lastly, I think one of my round up my top 5 here, I think, is the calculator app. And a bizarre thing to think of, okay, the calculator app, what's so exciting about that? But boy, Apple really has done some enhancements. Well, the biggest thing was, and of course, everybody made a huge deal out of it, is the fact the calculator app is finally brought to the iPad. So you now have the dedicated calculator app after all these years on the iPad. Oh boy, exciting. But the biggest thing I think is really what stood out is some of the pretty advanced features. One thing I didn't notice, and I didn't notice it before, because if you remembered on the previous version of the calculator, let's say you're typing 5 plus 5, and then you tap equals. Well, now it actually shows the plus or the minus or the divide within the visible as you're typing the calculations. So that's a big change. But the other thing they added was the math notes. So now you are able to take notes and be able to, on the iPad, you can use the Apple Pencil and actually, you're like getting a long sheet of doing your math equations and being able to write them up and able to take notes. And then they've added that, which is pretty amazing. That's more of what the math notes does on the iPad. On the iPhone, you can, unless you type the equations in, and then it actually puts it in for you in a list, which is great. So that's one of the other things. And then the math notes are pretty much can go everywhere because now you can put those math notes within, let's say, a text message or something, or do you want in any messaging, you can do that, which is pretty cool. The unit conversion in math notes, you actually have the unit conversions, a dedicated button to be able to go through there, as well as calculator history, and you do portrait orientation because you didn't used to do that before, especially the scientific calculator. You always had to turn it, because you have to make it look like an HP 12C, So I think those are some exciting enough enhancements that it kind of rounded off my top 5 of some of the features. Did you guys have anything to add as far as the calculator app?
I have a friend who is a retired math teacher and supports the schools and does mathathons and things like that. He's also an avid Apple user and listens to this podcast
awesome.
and this show. And
hi, Marty's friend.
Hi, Marty's friend.
There aren't too many of those people that use friend after my name. But he is absolutely nuts about this aspect of the math, the calculator and also math notes.
Math notes is just so fracking cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, so speaking of friends, we have some active discussions in our chat on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. Chuck Joyner made an appearance into our chat. Appreciate it. How you doing, Chuck? And we got Brian F. And we got the guys in there with us, as well as Wayne is there. How you doing, everybody? And lots of good chatter. So you come join us and watch and listen to the live recording here. So you can interact with us right on YouTube. So it's a lot of fun here. So let's see what else we've got here. We've got a number of other things we could talk about. I'm gonna kind of shelf some of the iOS 18 features. We'll continue on, believe me. I mean, I'm gonna be talking about iOS 18 probably for the next few weeks, if not months, for all the new stuff here. Enough stuff is going on, but I thought that top 5 really kind of just can sum up and got you a nice, good start for places where you can look to see what you can do to take advantage of what iOS 18 has to offer. I think they've really. I'm excited about this. It's probably one of the more exciting releases, in my opinion, in quite some time, of adding some of the great new features they've added this go around here. So we'll hold off on the AirPods and on the Apple Watch. I'm going to probably hold that off to next week because again, that's a lot more to talk about, and there's some enhancements in those. But let's go on to some news stories I want to hit on here real quick here. Apple did release the new AirPods Pro 2 and AirPods 4 firmware. That was released yesterday as we record this. It does have a build number of 7A302, and the AirPods 4 firmware is a 7A304. Again, Apple never tells us what's included in the firmware, but it's just a week after Apple just last updated the AirPods Pro 2 firmware to add its iOS 18 features, like support for head gestures and voice isolation. Apple, of course, was adding hearing aid and hearing test functionality as it was talked about in the AirPods Pro 2, so this update could potentially introduce some of those features, or it may lack the groundwork for a future update, or later groundwork for a future upgrade. So, like, again, you can't manually update it yourself, and Apple is continuing to do that. No surprise there. So, anybody have any comments on this?
Yeah, for most people that don't understand how to update their AirPods, how do you update your AirPods?
You don't. You have to put them in and make sure they're connected to your iPhone, and they just magically upgrade.
Yeah, I like to push a button.
Yeah,
I like to know that I'm doing something to make it happen, and then to have to magically check to see if it's upgraded on itself. And particularly with when I think of firmware on other devices, it's a pretty major don't mess with it while it's happening thing. So, how to do it, I've searched that, Guy, and it's like just what Dave says. It'll happen. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah. Guy, don't worry your pretty little head about it. Apple's going to take care of it for you.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to make it so that you could tell something was going on, just, you've got the small light on the front of it. Just have it start going, SOS and Morse code, just to show you that something's going on.
Yeah. So a couple stories about the iPhone 16. Apple says that these 5 changes will make the iPhone 16's models easier to repair. They informed Tom's Guide and Engadget, and this is on Mac Rumors, in addition to the 16 and 16 Plus having easier electrically induced battery removal process, Apple also has on-device configuration for Face ID True Depth camera on the 12 series and newer, eliminating the need to use a Mac. True Depth camera can be swapped between any iPhone 16 and 16 Pro models. Apple can now repair the LiDAR scanner on the 16 Pro while servicing the rear camera module, and the 16 Pro models now have internal design changes that provide simplified access to unspecified components. So we'll be seeing lots of teardowns and find out more. iFixit comes to mind. We'll definitely probably be talking a lot more about this. So it's good to hear that Apple's finally trying to make it a little easier to repair the iPhones, because, boy, many years they don't want anybody to go in there at all. They don't want you to touch it. So I think this is good. Any comments on this?
I'm really curious about what an electrically induced battery removal process is.
Yeah, there is other link in there.
You can only do it.
You get a cattle prod.
Yeah, you can only do it 10 times because you blow off a finger each time.
And you're done.
Or does it turn it into spicy pillows and then they're easier to remove?
Yeah. Well, I guess we will find out.
Pop right out.
I guess that we will find out, right? So end-to-end encryption is now going to be, when we talked about RCS earlier, is coming to iPhone to Android RCS messages. The GSM Association, the GSMA organization, is responsible for developing the rich RCS standard, announced this week that it's working on implementing end-to-end encryption for messages sent between the Android and iPhone devices, though no specific timeline has been for the implementation has been provided. Of course, because of Apple's now recent adoption of RCS, this is really pushing this towards a good thing now that we're going to have some encrypted messages between both platforms. I'm excited to see that finally Apple's realizing, you can't. Android people are out there. You're not going to convert everybody. In fact, Android's probably more popular around the world than it is here in the U.S.
I don't think it's a matter of Apple finding out. I think it's a matter of other government organizations going, you will do this.
They can be enforcing it.
Yeah, Guy, I think you're right. This is about Apple trying to avoid government regulation. And so they're going to or they've adopted RCS.
Walk the line.
Yeah, they're walking the line. Here's the thing, though. Just because the standards group that's working on end-to-end encryption is doing that, it doesn't mean we're going to see true cross-platform end-to-end encryption in the near future. I mean, first off, Google has been pushing their proprietary RCS encryption, and they want everyone to adopt that and have been making it look like Apple's the bad guy because Apple's not going to adopt their proprietary technology and then be beholden to Google for encryption. And
No way.
yeah, how about that? And then when the standard is ratified and Apple adopts it, then it's up to Google and all of these other companies that are developing their own messaging apps to then add support for this. So this isn't going to be a magic overnight fix.
And there's a lot of companies and there's a lot of countries that they don't want that encryption.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
that is true. All right. Apple Card. Apple is in talks with JP Morgan Chase about potential Apple Card partnership. Amid the long-running reports that Apple and Goldman Sachs are working towards ending their Apple Card partnership, JP Morgan Chase is now in talks with Apple about taking over the credit card program. This is reported by the Wall Street Journal. A deal could be still months away, but according to the reports, the talks have accelerated in recent weeks as the two sides negotiate the details of a potential agreement. I think Chase is looking for certain concessions in order for the deal to be reached, including paying less for the $17 billion face value of outstanding balances of Apple Card holders. Holy cow. And doing away with the synchronized Apple Card billing cycles that match the calendar months. I like that we could do that, but which has created customer service issues. Apple has also spoken with Synchrony Financial and Capital One about the Apple Card program, while Goldman Sachs spoke with American Express last year. The two partners on Apple Card have been exploring how to end their partnership, but it looks like Chase might be standing out. Of course, this is only in the U.S. For now, the card has only been available in the U.S. for quite some time since it released 5 years ago. Jeff, what do you think?
I think that Goldman Sachs wants out of the commercial consumer-facing market, and all of the companies that, like Apple, they're in the same boat. Their credit cards are going to end up getting sold off to another company. And of course, Chase and whoever else might be in negotiations, they want concessions. They don't want to pay full price for the debt that Goldman Sachs has, and they're not going to pay full price either. So, yeah, I guess we'll see when this happens. I hope that the rest of the concessions don't include things that negatively impact the user experience we have with Apple Card right now, because it's integrated so nicely into the Wallet app. And I get wanting to change to be able to have payment dates whenever, because it does make it easier for the card companies. But holy crap, like right now, I have a different date for my Apple Card, my bank credit card, my Amazon credit card, and my Costco credit card.
Yep. I have all those.
Every one of them is a different date. And
they are.
If it wasn't for OmniFocus, I'd have no idea when any of my credit card payments are.
I just check mine every week and pay off the balance.
Yeah, so I do.
Yeah.
I could not
do
tell
that
you
sometimes,
what my credit card dates are.
I know. The good thing is Apple Card right now, you know it's the end of the month.
Yeah, I know it's the end of the month. And I do periodically just hop in and pay off whatever's there, but I like to make sure that if I've been busy and haven't been paying attention, or I haven't really used a specific card very much in a month, I don't want to forget. And yeah, anyhow, well, I'm just a cranky person, I guess.
Well, I think the big change is going to be in how much cash back or what the percentage is you get on purchases. That's really the only way I think that JP Morgan or some other bank company coming in is going to be able to take the existing debt and work it down.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll give us less when it comes to certain purchases. I'm sure Apple purchases will still be 3%, but pretty much everything else is going to go away or become much smaller.
And just maybe do like the credit card companies do
they
now.
Do they also handle the savings accounts?
Yes, right at Goldman Sachs.
Okay, well, that's another one. What is it now?
Yeah.
4.45.
Yeah, that's going to go down. That's going to go back to whatever the standard is for most other savings accounts, and that sucks.
There are other banks out there that are doing the exact same percentage. So
yeah,
you'd think Chase would be smart enough to know that business will go away if that's what they want.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if the savings account lost its relatively nice interest rate. And especially since, because Dave, like you pointed out, there are other banks that are doing that now too.
Yep. So get the final word, Marty.
I like the convenience of having that savings account tied directly to the card, and it allows me to move stuff over from that account much easier when I'm ready to do purchases. The card I use primarily for all of my Apple services and Apple products that I buy, so I don't use it outside of that. So as long as they stay with the 3%, I'll be a happy camper, and because I'm not going to really use it on a lot of other products or a lot of other things. Now, I know you guys can be heavy users, pay for everything through the card. I've got other cards that I use that for. I really like the Apple Card, primarily security issues, because my wife's card has been hacked, but the ability to kind of change that digitally right away has been a plus, and the security associated with it. I hope they don't muck it up. I really hope they don't muck it up. So
now that could be a big reason why it's taking so long to handle this.
Could be. All right, couple more stories before we wrap up here. The Apple Sports app, it continues to evolve, and this week it updated the free Sports app for the iPhone with several new features and changes, including live activities support. Latest version of the Apple Sports app is on iOS 18 as well as watchOS 11, and has live activity supports for all teams and leagues available within the app. This feature enables live scores and play-by-play information in iPhone's lock screen, as well as Dynamic Island on the newer models and on the Apple Watch, starting with Siri watchOS 11. Apple had previously said the live activities are going to be no longer available in the Apple TV app or on iOS. So let's say that I think no longer available in the Apple TV app. Okay. Yes, it's on iOS 18, but it's got all of, the leagues have expanded. You got all the core leagues in the US, and it continues to expand even further. It's a pretty nifty app. I think you have to be obviously a sports fan to want to even dabble in this. But Guy, you and I are always we're big sports fans. Have you tried this app at all?
No, I've been constantly disappointed by not so much the Apple Sports app, but most of the other leagues' sports offerings outside of what was commercially or ad supported. The NFL in particular has been really hacking me off. And I remember quite some time ago, Tim Robertson said that he figured in about 10 years, even the Super Bowl will be streaming only, that you'll have to pay some kind of price to see the Super Bowl. And, I think that the moment you move a lot of sports out of the ad supported, because there's so much dead airtime in almost all sports that, it just fits right in there with ads. And the moment you move away from that model, you're going to lose a lot of people that would sit there and watch instead of, you're going to make them pay and you're going to give them ads.
Yeah.
That's just not a good look.
Yep. Marty, you have anything to add on this?
I'm noticing today I'm getting all sorts of posts and notifications through the sports app. Apparently I got ambitious when it first came out and signed up for a bunch of teams, and my island was full of data on Pittsburgh, and I really don't care about Pittsburgh. So I have to go in and trim it down a little bit so I can get Cubby scores when I need Cubby scores.
It's 3-3, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I've got it on my phone right now. I've got it open on my phone.
I did.
And was wondering, it looks like it's 3-3. And did I refresh this, or do I need to refresh it? And I refreshed it, and it's still 3-3.
Yep, so I think it live refreshes.
Right. Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Jeff?
Go
Sure,
sports
actually.
ball.
I have a real problem with the organized sports, spectator sports thing in general, because I mean, it's been turned into this thing that is so complicated for sports fans, so much so that if I was someone that was like on the fence, like, yeah, I'd like to watch some more stuff, this would be chasing me away. And then the way that these sports organizations are gouging people for money, and
Every
then
chance
the
they
salt
get.
in the wound, all these cities are giving the sports teams big tax breaks and rebates to build stadiums there, and the idea, of course, is, yeah, but it brings in all this extra money
Yeah.
because of all these other things happening. Well, yes and no, because that money that money that you're not taking from the sports teams to build a stadium, you're now expecting consumers to make up the difference. So they have to supplement a sports team by coming in and buying stuff in businesses. Anyhow, I have a lot of problems with this whole thing, and I think it's really crappy that we all pay for it, and that sports fans are being treated so crappy.
Okay. Well, I
agree.
like to get a different perspective of being a non-sports fan. I would appreciate that. Want to add one last thing before we wrap up, Marty?
I was just going to say, Jeff, don't hold back.
Yeah. And he did.
I'm trying to figure out how I really feel about this.
Okay.
I'm working through it.
All right. Well, that was a great show. We had a lot of great topics to talk about. There'll be more discussions about iOS 18. We'll be hitting on the Apple Watch and the AirPods. There's going to be enough to tell you about over the next few weeks, and we'll just continue on and have fun doing it at the same time here. But appreciate all of you being here, and I appreciate everybody who's listening and watching this week. Let's go ahead and wrap up. That's the wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Great to see Brian F. and Wayne and Cletus and all of our great fans that are out there this week. We had a good showing this week, and a lot of people who didn't make any comments, but I'm so glad you were here this week to watch us live. You can watch the current and past live streams, and you can listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in our favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that site. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Guy Serle, so glad you were able to make it here this week. Where can people find
me
you?
too. Well, number one, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Yes.
And I don't know if Chuck is still listening, but I do plan on getting back to Mac Voices sometime soon. If you're looking for me, you can find me almost every single weekend talking with Gaz over at the mighty mymac.com podcast. You can reach me as Mac Parrot over on X and Counter Social and Mastodon, and for some stupid reason, Vert Shark on Instagram and Threads. That's just how I roll. Guy at mymac.com is the email address. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff Gamet, thank you for being here. I always appreciate you being here. Where can people find you?
Well, I appreciate that you're so wonderfully patient and tolerant. So thank you for that. All right. So, that's a really good point. You have both Guy and me on, and
living dangerously.
You're a saint. That's all there is to it.
Yep.
I'm assuming the line between a saint and a fool is very thin. So thin. Anyhow, social media. I'm Jay Gamet on everything, but I'm posting on Mastodon and Instagram. Then shows. Guy mentioned Mac Voices Live. I'm on that on Tuesdays because Chuck still, for whatever reason, lets me join in. And here with you on Thursdays, down on the British Tech Network. Big Show on Thursdays, Mac Show on Fridays. And Brian Chaffin and I, we do Context Machine. And Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
Yes. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. Always appreciate it.
These guys are such a calming presence. Being here is like having a cold beer at the end of a busy work week.
Think of it as therapy.
Yeah, it's great. I'm Marty Jencius. You can find me at Jencius at mastodon.social. Tuesday nights with Mac Voices, Thursday nights here, both the fun nights for me during the week. And then podcasts, you can find me on The Tech Savvy Professor and also Circular Firing Squad and the one that I'm doing with Eric Bolden, which is kind of my favorite child right now, Vision Profiles. And you can find all the connections for that at thepodtalk.net.
Absolutely. I'm bringing up my Vision Pro.
So, Marty, seeing us here...
Don't make us turn this podcast around.
Seeing Guy here, I'm assuming the therapy for you with that is that you can say, well, at least I'm not them.
Yes.
No, I really like you guys. I do. And, Dave, I like the conversation and the personality, and you should not be self-deprecating. Yeah.
Let's wrap it up here.
Trying too hard.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I really love doing the show. Love having all these guys on with me every week. We have a blast doing it for you. Keep listening, keep watching, and then until next time, we'll talk again soon.